This videotape is going to show you a new online help system. It was developed at Sun Microsystems and it runs on the Sun 386i workstation. Now there are a lot of help systems out there that aren't used that much. So our goal was to build a help system that would be used. That meant that it should be easy to learn and it should help users with the problems that they really encounter when they're trying to use the workstation and when they're trying to figure out how an application really works. It should make the answers easy to find and easy to understand. Now the Sun 386i can run a lot of applications at once, so it makes sense to provide a single help system. That way users have to learn the interface of the help facility only once, and application developers can make use of existing facilities rather than having to write their own. The first part of the help system is a feature called Spot Help. Here the user is pointing to a button and pressing the help key. This brings up an explanation of that button. It's quick and it's easy to use. It covers things like buttons, menu items, scroll bars, and so forth. Just about everything in the system has an explanation attached to it. For example, if you don't know how to work a menu item, you can point to that and press the help key. This brings up an explanation of that item. Here's another example showing a scroll bar. Now, if that isn't enough information, you can point to the More Help button. This brings up the second part of the help system, Help Viewer. Help Viewer is a program which contains online documentation. Here it's displaying a document about scrolling windows. Now this document looks and feels a lot like a book would. The pages are large, contains a lot of illustrations, and you can page through it. The documentation emphasizes simple step-by-step examples. Here you see forwarding mail, searching for text, moving and resizing windows. Moving between documents is accomplished by means of hypertext links. For example, here the user is pointing at a cross-reference. Clicking on it brings up the new document. This is the top-level table of contents. Every application in the system has an online handbook. You see them listed here. There's one for help, one for mail, one for text editor, and so on. You can open these handbooks by simply clicking on the entry. This is the mail handbook. This works a lot like a traditional table of contents would. The only difference is that you open the sections by clicking on them. Here you see a typical chapter. The handbooks also contain indexes. Again, these work a lot like a normal index would. The only difference is that you get to the entries by clicking on the relevant link. We tried to keep the structure of our handbooks regular and simple. Each handbook contains an introductory section and a series of chapters explaining how to do common things with that application. It also contains an index. This makes it easy to browse around the system without getting lost. Here you see a header scheme. Now, this header is on every page of every document in the system. It tells you where you are and it makes it easy to jump up to a higher level. Now these features such as tables of contents, indexes, headers, and so forth were all created by the author, not the system. You could just as easily have a non-hierarchical arrangement. If you follow a link and find you've made a mistake, it's easy to get back. You can also return to any document you've seen. You can follow a link into a new window if you want. That allows you to see documents side by side. You can have a number of them open at once. Help Viewer also allows you to have documents of any size. You can also have hypertext links in graphics. Here's a graphic with a link in it. You can launch applications from within Help Viewer. Here's a link which starts a text editor. We call this a system link. We're going to bring up the editor and add some text to the file. Now you can create a link to do anything which you could otherwise do from the command line. For example, if you have video, you might launch a video window. We're going to show an example of that. We don't have video, so keep in mind that the footage you're going to see in the upper right is simulated. Okay, now, down here in the lower left, we're going to start an application. And what this illustrates is that you can control another application from within Help Viewer by sending it messages. Here we're going to send this application a message to change its shape and color. So it changes to blue and changes its outline. But the point here is that you could have an application that you could configure from within the application's documentation itself. This means that the documentation can actually do something useful for the user. He doesn't just have to read it. So now you've seen the system from the user's point of view, and we're going to show it to you from the developer's perspective. It's important that the system be easy for the user, but it's also important that it be easy for the developer, because that's what encourages people to add online help to their applications. Adding spot help is easy. When you create an object such as a button, you just add a line of code like this. This says that the object has help, and it tells the system where to find the help message associated with that object. The message itself is stored in a separate text file. This allows it to be modified or translated without having to rebuild the program. Here we're modifying the message. And here we're going to add some additional text. This will cause the More Help button to appear, and this text will be sent to the Help Viewer when the user presses it. That'll open a document called Printing Files. Now you can change the help associated with an object at any time. Here up at the top is a grayed out print button. User asks for help on it. It's disabled. Now if you enable the button and ask for help again, you can see that the help changed. This is useful for explaining to users why a menu item is grayed out, for example. Help Viewer doesn't have its own authoring system. Instead, you use either of two desktop publishing products to write your documentation, FrameMaker or Interleaf. Now these have a lot of filters, so you can also get other documents into the system, McDraw, McPaint, CAD drawings, and so forth. Here we've started one of these publishing packages, and we're going to modify a document, in this case the headline. We're going to add some text. Now, if you save the document and then reload it in Help Viewer, you can see you've just changed the headline. Okay, now here's an example of adding a hypertext link. I'm going to type in the text of the link, and then I'm going to underline it. We use underlining as a convention to indicate the presence of a link. Now I'm going to insert a marker. This is the same type of marker that both of these publishing packages use for indexing and things like that. What I'm typing in here is just the file name that I want Help Viewer to open when the user clicks on this link. So if you save the document and bring it back up in Help Viewer, you see the new text appears, and there's the link. You can follow it by clicking on it. So it's pretty simple. Now, if you have an application and you write an online help handbook for it, it can be installed in the user's top-level table of contents automatically when you do your software installation. Help Viewer can be accessed directly by the user like any other program. But one of the interesting features is that Help Viewer can also be accessed by other processes. That's how Spot Help works. Here you see the user's getting Spot Help on a menu item. So pressing More Help just basically sends Help Viewer a message to display the appropriate document. This could be used in a number of other ways as well. For example, if your application encounters an error condition, this application's going to have an error here. You try and open a file, and the file will be in the wrong format. And you can offer the user the option of getting more help. So bring up the documentation which explains that situation. And this would also allow you to take any browser and plug it into Help Viewer. Here's a graphical file browser, and I can basically just click on files and have them come up in Help Viewer because the file browser is sending Help Viewer a message to open that file. So it's a pretty flexible mechanism. So here's the summary. The help system is good for users because it provides a single user interface to help from any application on the system. In addition to hypertext, it provides a lot of other features that users are already familiar with: tables of contents, indices, and large legible pages. It's good for application developers because it means that they don't have to rewrite help facilities for each application. We think that help systems like this make a lot of sense, particularly in a multitasking environment.